Hey, good morning, Central. Good to be with you guys. Good to see you guys at the various campuses that are out. I want to greet you greetings from Missouri, where it is 8 degrees and about 8 to 11 inches of snow. So, texted my wife before I came on stage, like, good luck with that. Like, yeah, I'm leaving Phoenix and headed to San Diego next. So, I got a 15-year-old son and a snow shovel, so he can get himself to work, is what that means, all right? It's called be a contributor, not a consumer, boy. Come on, get to work, shovel. I love it. He's a great kid, man. I want to tell you, first of all, I've got this deep love for Central that I just want to articulate and explain why, because you're like, don't know you. How could you love this church? It kind of goes way back in my story and my history. I was kind of a young youth pastor, just getting started, about 23 years old. Found myself in a situation that was, we'll just say, is a little bit difficult. We'll say that. Nothing I'd done, just kind of the church situation I'm in was a little difficult. And I was really just having a hard time, man. I was working my tail off, trying to make everything work. Anyway, it doesn't matter why. It was just difficult. And there's this guy, maybe you've heard of him. I don't know. His name's Cal. There's this guy named Cal. And I was kind of in a tough spot, and I was at this conference, and we were kind of sitting there sharing, and somebody asked a question. I answered the question. Everyone's like, what? Are you kidding me? I was like, nope, that's kind of the deal. And Cal walked up to me, put his arm around me, and said, hey, man, I got you. I was basically paying for everything out of my own pocket. I had like no help. And Cal looked at me, and he goes, hey, man, I got everything. I'm gonna pay for your meals, you walk with me, you hang with me, I'm gonna cover it all. And I know that wasn't Cal. That's just the love of what Central is. Like, that's just who you all are. And he was a great extension. And not only that, I moved on to a different church. I was working there. I had no budget. I got a call from a guy named Dean Keese, John Chandler, Steve Hutch, another guy named Perry. And those guys asked me if I wanted to go on this big road trip and just like learn from other churches. I was like, well, man, I've got no budget. Like, forget it. Central's got it. So thank you again for providing my trip. And because of you all, like, I was able to like almost triple our ministry from that trip. And a lot of that I trace back to you all. So there's just been so many times, so many moments in my life that Central's been a piece of that. And so to be able to be here on a Sunday with you all, just, yeah, it's kind of full circle for me because I can go back at moments in my ministry where you all were encouragement to me and you didn't even know it. So thank you for that. We've all got moments. I'm sure you've got moments in your life that are kind of core memories, core things you can go to. Some of those are probably really good. Some of those might be a little difficult. I remember in summer, a core memory, it was August. I had a roommate in college that I really didn't like a whole lot. He just talked too much and annoyed me. So there it is. He kept telling me about this girl that he liked and how beautiful she was. And he was like enamored with this girl named Janice. Like, she's a freshman, don't care. What? Quit talking about this girl. Like, I'm not even like, whatever, man, just move on. And he just kept yapping about this girl. So I was like, okay, whatever, man. So one night he and I went out and we played some tennis. On our way back, lights start flashing at the back of his car. He's like, hey, it's her. I was like, who? He goes, the girl, Janice. I was like, he goes, I want you to meet her, man. Just meet her for me. It's like, I don't care about this, man. I just like, I'm sure she's great, but like, can we go back? And he's like, no, we got to meet her. Little did I know, like, as I got out to meet this girl that he was infatuated and cared so much for, I was actually meeting my wife. So yeah. Yeah, so there's that. It was awesome, man. Yeah, sometimes moment changes everything, doesn't it? Sometimes those moments are fun. Sometimes those moments are heavy. Like, I could flip the script on you right now, and we could all go back, even if you weren't alive in 2001. I call it a summer day in September of 2001, and I don't need to go any deeper because you know exactly what day I'm talking about. And even if you weren't alive, you've seen enough of the footage on TV, you can play the reel. You got your reels, I've got mine, and we don't need to share them because they're violent and they're difficult. That we play through a moment that changed everything from how we get on a plane to how we handle foreign policy. And we know that moment, it changed everything, didn't it? Like a moment. Sometimes the moments are also like, what? Like, I remember 2007, people are camping out in front of a stupid computer store to get a phone. Who does that? Like, what? iPhone. That's dumb. That'll never work. I remember seeing the first one on a plane. Some guy had one, was like, doesn't even have buttons. Who wants that? Yeah. I was wrong, okay? Like, sometimes you know those moments, you've got them, like I've got them. And part of what I do is I work in this whole world of moments. Now, people could say, working at CIY, that I run events. Sure, you could say that. Trying to explain to my construction worker dad, Like, my dad built homes my whole growing up. Trying to explain to him my day job is complicated. He's like 78 years old, okay? The only thing he knows is like, well, you pour the concrete, you frame it, you build it, that's what you do. He goes, what's this little camp thing you do? And I'm like, okay, there it is. There it is. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Dad. Appreciate that. He's like, you just do these camps for kids? I'm like, well, yep, kind of like that. He's like, you just play games all the time? I was like, yep, Dad, just like that. Yep, just like that, Dad. Just kind of let it go, move on. But at some point, I realized like there's 90,000 kids, okay? It's like we got all the logistics and details and venues and all the trucking and all the stuff that goes with it. But I'll be honest with you, events for me, camps are a means to an end. Like, that's not the business I'm in. I'm in the business of creating moments that transform a student's heart, a kid's heart. There's a kid named James. Not his name by any means. That's not his name. James has got a big personality, big life. He has got lots of he's just big behavior, man. And he grew up in the foster care system and went to camp this last summer. And for the first time was told by a group of students and adults that he belonged, that he mattered. And I think the crazy thing about it all is he believed it. He believed it and he took it to heart. And for him, that moment that honestly Central created because he's one of your students, the adults in this room made the way for him to be able to go. Like, in that moment, it changes everything for him. I don't know what the moment is for you, but there's probably a moment in your life you can go back and think, man, the script flipped on that day. It all changed. And we love to give those moments for students. There's a story in the book of Matthew, and as the story's told, man, if you don't know the background on Matthew, like that guy, let's just say, I like to say that he was a low life living the high life, okay? I'm gonna read the scripture here, we'll kind of get into it. And it's just real short, succinct, but I'm gonna draw a point out of it. From Matthew chapter 9, verse 9, it says, as Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. Follow me, he told him. And Matthew got up and followed him. We don't need to unpack all the historical narrative on Matthew, but I'm gonna just tell you what, he made himself an outsider by what he chose to do. He was at a point where he didn't belong. Sometimes people feel they don't belong because they've grown up in the foster care and over decisions they had nothing to do with. Sometimes they're like Matthew and they make the decisions that put themselves in a place where they don't belong. But I can tell you this, man, we're facing a generation and working with a generation that's doing everything they can trying to find their place. And I'm telling you what, man, the algorithm is not answering the deep felt needs of this generation. It's why if you were to do the research, 1 in 3 teens suffer from anxiety. 25% of all teens, 1 in 4, 25% of all teens are gonna face some sort of traumatic experience in the world today. And I'm just telling you, man, I grew up as a Gen Xer, great generation, man. I dig it, it was awesome. But the world today is much more volatile, much more violent than anything I grew up in. And what students are facing in this world, what Gen X and Gen Alpha are facing is far more complicated than anything that I faced. Then 1 out of 4 are gonna face some sort of traumatic, brutal, difficult experience by the time they are 16 years old. They look everywhere, man. It's why 70% of Gen Z males look at pornography weekly. And the female statistics are not far behind. They've chased an algorithm that's offered no authority. And what makes a guy like James show up? What makes a guy like Matthew stand up? Is because they found an authority that goes beyond any algorithm. They found something that can actually triumph over the darkness that they feel in their souls. That they realize that, man, they need something more than likes. What they desperately need is life. And that ego is not accomplishing the felt needs of the soul. And they would take commitment over clicks any day. And I wanna tell you, man, what I'm seeing in this generation is that there's incredibly good news. That this generation is responding in ways that most of us in this room are clueless about. But you know what they want? They desperately want to be involved. Let me give you some data that you may not know. Barna is a research company that does research in the faith-based community. Really amazing organization. They did research, and did you know that more Gen Z and millennials are attending church right now than boomers or Gen X? Man, they want to be utilized. They don't want just to attend, they want to contribute. This generation wants to know that they're valued for what they can bring to the table. with their faith and with their view of Jesus. I'm seeing this play out in the life of my own son when it comes to sports. And I don't want to go in, I'm going to kind of go through the back door here. When I look at my son, he's a freshman this year, wrestling 138 varsity. Whew, welcome to varsity, freshman. And actually, he's doing pretty well. But I love the fact when he comes off the mat, even if he beats a senior, the coach is right there and he's just chewing him up one side down the other. I'm like, Cy, what happened? He's like, I made a mistake. Coach told me they trained me better than that. Like, you won. He's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I know better. I made a mistake there. I'm like, okay. He starts on the freshman team. He starts at our free safety. And our team, as a free safety, he's got to call all the schemes, man. He's going to know instantly. I mean, in the snap of a finger, when the offense breaks a huddle, he's a free safety. He's calling out, we run in a red, blue, or white. We run in man, we run in zone. We're in a 3-front or a 4-front. And he's the guy screaming all this out because the amount of time he's watched huddle and he knows the plays that are coming. And if Cy can't call that play in seconds, there's 6 boys on the sideline that'll step up and do it. That's why we've got 16 state championships in 19 years. Like, it's just the culture. If he's playing baseball, like, I'll tell you what, he's a center fielder. If that ball's hit, when it comes to his glove, he better know instantaneously what he's gonna do. He's gotta know what he's gonna do with the ball before the ball's even hit. He loves that. You know why? Because the coaches want him to contribute. And listen, this is not a comment to Central. Because across the different campuses, what we know is that you guys are actually doing this right in so many ways. We saw it on stage today. We know there's some beautiful things happen, but I have a really unique vantage point that I see churches from California all the way to Maryland. I see churches from Washington to Florida, from Michigan to Texas. Work with 2,000 churches. Let me ask this, generally speaking of the church in America, not of Central, okay, of the church, what are you all, not just you, just generally speaking, what does the church ask of my boy? The football team expects him to read a defense, and the wrestling coach expects him to know exactly what to do. The baseball coach says he better know exactly what to do when he gets that ball. What are we asking of this generation? And I'm telling you what, man, they do not want to be consumers. They want to be contributors. They do not want to be attendees. They want to be activated, and we're seeing this, man. We're seeing this all around us. People ask me if I'm worried about the next generation. Not at all. Are you seeing what's happening right in front of you? I mean, it's unfolding before our very eyes. I went the other day had free tickets to watch Ohio State versus the Illini. And I showed up, got to the game, and all of a sudden the Illini, they're on the field warming up. Then Ohio State comes running out. They're ranked number 1 at that point in time. They come running out of the tunnel. And all of a sudden, as they hit the 30-yard line, all the way down to the far goal line, it was like ducks landing on a pond. I just started watching these players dropping to their knees. I was like, what in the world? Even to the point that the Illini crowd just kind of went hushed. And across the whole field, you just saw all of these players going to their knees because if you know the story of what happened to Ohio State this last year, their football team came to Christ in droves. They were baptizing people left and right at Ohio State. They were moving across their campus, bringing Jesus to sororities, Jesus into fraternities, and you saw it play out, but it's not just Ohio State. We could talk about the 6,000 students that gathered at Auburn University to cry out to holy God. We can move from Auburn. We can start talking about the University of Kentucky, where 8,000 students gathered in Rep Arena to talk about Jesus and to worship him. We can move from there to the University of Arkansas, where 10,000 students gathered. Mississippi State, another 4,000. Florida State, another 4,500. And I can go from campus after campus after campus because something's happening in our culture. This generation is rising up. They've been fed the algorithms. They've been fed all the garbage. And their spiritual lungs are desiring to take a deep breath when it seems that everything in our culture, from race to politics, is suffocating them. And they're taking a breath, but it's not the first time our country's done this. This is nothing new for us. While I wouldn't say it's anything that I'd want to predict, I can tell you that I do see a pattern. I know maybe you're not a historian, but can you just walk with me for just a brief second? Back in the 1730s, the 1740s, America had something called the Great Awakening. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. George Whitefield, guys like that, they brought this awakening to our country, and then we wonder why the founding fathers write so much about creation, so much about the Creator into our original documents. It's because what was going on in our country was an awakening that founded the very foundation of who we are as a nation, even into 1776. But 50 years after that, you go from the 1730s and 40s with the first Great Awakening, and then all of a sudden, about 50 to 60 years later, you get into the 1800s, and we have the Second Great Awakening. About 50 to 60 years later, the Second Great Awakening happens. And again, it sweeps across the frontier of America with people coming to Christ in droves. And in fact, if you could swab the cheek of Central, Swab the cheek over here of Christ Church of the Valley. Swab the cheek of First Christian Phoenix, just right here in the Valley. Do you realize that our DNA as a people would go all the way back to 1800, that our grandparents would have been there theologically? That they were there and that awakening gave birth to what's even happening in the Valley today? It was a second great awakening. But it wasn't just what happened in the 1730s and then 50 to 60 years later, because then it happened again. Because then you go to the third great awakening. And in the 1870s, 1860s, all of a sudden what happens in New York City? Then it's led by businessmen. It's led by the people of commerce, and they're driven to their knees in prayer. And things are given birth, like the Salvation Army, the YMCA. All of a sudden, colleges. If you go look at the charter of so many colleges in our nation, you'll see this Christian foundation within them. What happened was there was another awakening that happened 60 years later. And all of a sudden, right after that, you roll another 50 to 60 years. You're in 1906. Again, a pattern. Boom, boom, boom. 1906 in Azusa. 1906, you start seeing this amazing thing happen in California. People coming to Christ. And then you roll it through forward again. Another 50 to 60 years. And we find ourselves in the 1960s and the 1970s. And then all of a sudden, the Jesus revolution that shows up on the cover of Time magazine with people coming to Christ in droves again, people showing up the Pacific Ocean to be baptized one after another. Jesus moving across our country. That was the 1960s, the 1970s. Church, I'm telling you right now, that was 50 years ago. And if history is a teacher, we are standing on the very doorstep of the next great move of God. The next generation has always moved it forward. This 50-year gap is not a thing, it's not a cycle mathematically you can calculate, but it is a cycle of hunger. The hunger of a generation that's fed up with all the garbage going on in their culture. And they're ready to rise up and say, we want something more. We want to see the work of God in our generation. And when you hear what's happening at Auburn, or you hear what's happening at Asbury, when you hear what's happening at Ohio State, when you hear what's happening at Arizona State, I'm telling you, man, the movement of God is coming in this generation, and you get a front row seat to watch it happen. I believe the next generation is not just coming. I believe you are hearing the first drops of rain hitting in our nation today. And what's happened over the last 24 months on college campuses, and even with our ministry, I'm telling you what, y'all, we'll have 90,000 students crying out to God this summer. Listen, that is not us. I want to make sure you know that. That's not us. Well, hey, listen, time out on that. We are thermometers, not thermostats. All we do is reflect the things that's going on in our nation. Like I tell our team all the time, we're bridesmaids, not the bride. We're not the hero of the story, the local church is. And what that tells you is that a church in a world with Pew Research that wants to tell you every time you're on Drudge how bad the church is doing. With the Atlantic went to publish article after article about all the troubles in the church. I'm telling you what I'm seeing, and that's a wave coming. It's a rebirth happening in our nation among the next generation, and that's why 90,000 students will be there. We've grown by 45,000 students in the last 4 years. This year, I got a waiting list of kids trying to get in. There's a movement happening, and you should be excited because the next generation, oh, you're in good hands, church. You're in good hands because Gen Z and Gen Alpha are going to take it places that we never dreamed. It's a beautiful thing. In fact, Barna has told us that Gen Alpha may be the most evangelistic generation in American history. Buckle up, man. What's about to happen with this generation? The back half of Gen Z that's in the room right now, Gen Alpha that's coming, will be the most evangelistic generation in American history. Whew, I love that. They noticed, Barna researched this, they noticed that 80% of surveyed teens said they felt comfortable inviting friends to church. 76% said they felt comfortable sharing personal faith stories. Imagine if we as adults kept pace with that. What would happen at Central? Across our campuses, imagine what would happen if adults paced at the same rate as Gen Z and Gen Alpha is doing today. I love it, man. And they have a long history of playing a critical role in taking a movement forward. They remind me a lot of Andrew. In the book of John, chapter 1, it says this: the following day, John was again standing with two of his disciples. As Jesus walked by, John looked at him and declared, "Look, the Lamb of God." And when John's two disciples heard this, they followed Jesus. Jesus looked around and saw them following. I wish I could hear the tone he said this in. "What do you want?" he asked them. I'm sure it was not that accusatory, but that's what I hear, like, "What do you want?" I don't know why. And they replied, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" "Come and see," he said. That's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they went with him to the place we were staying, and they remained with him for the rest of the day. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of those men who heard what John said and followed Jesus. Andrew went to find his brother Simon. Andrew went to find his brother Simon. Andrew went to find his brother Simon. And he told him, we have found the Messiah. Then Andrew brought Simon to meet Jesus. Andrew brought Simon to meet Jesus. Looking intently at Simon, Jesus said, your name is Simon, son of John, but you'll be called Cephas. That's Gen Alpha. That's Gen Z. That's what I see playing out across the nation right now, is students who are not afraid of the gospel. They're no longer ashamed of the gospel. We've grown up in this world, and you know as a boomer, Gen X, or a millennial, we were pushed hard over here to say, oh man, it's gotta be politically correct. You can't talk about your faith. You gotta be quiet. You know, Christians were marginalized for so long, and I'm telling you, man, if physics teach you anything, for every reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and now you've got a society coming that says, no more of that. You don't put me down, you don't put me in my place. I'll talk about my faith openly, and I'll talk about it often, and that's what you've got in this next generation. They are the reaction the church has been waiting on. And the first assignment that Andrew had wasn't a miracle, it was an invitation. Relevant Magazine did some research, and they found that 82% of people would accept an invitation to church from a friend. 82%. That means as you're walking around as adults in your workplace, just know this, that 8 out of the 10 people you pass that you're friends with would be here on a Sunday if you just invited them. You just invite them. I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? Somebody tells you no? Like, it's not like they're gonna take away your birthday and Christmas. You're gonna be all right. But we just struggle at times to get past that initial fear. The next thing with Gen Alphas are like, okay, they're fearless, man, let's go. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? And they're leaning into this. The ROI in investing in this generation is absolutely incredible. It's part of why we do this at CIY. We get a couple of goals right now. Number one is that we know that 25% of all pastors are gonna retire between now and 2032. I flipped through that so fast, let it settle for a second. 25% of all pastors in our nation. We're about to hit a massive drought of pastors right now in our country, massive. So part of what we're trying to do is call 30,000 students into ministry between now and 2032. I don't do BHAG goals, those big, hairy, audacious goals. I do attainable, difficult but attainable goals. We're gonna hit that. And in fact, Central's a huge part of that. Did you realize that 47 students from your ministry across your campuses last summer said they were gonna take the gospel to the nations, take the gospel to the valley? 47 from your group just last summer. 47 across your campuses made that commitment. This next summer, we realize that there are moments in our society where the gospel needs to be articulated. We realize that boomers, Xers, and millennials have been silenced by our culture. We know we've got a culture in Gen Z and Gen Alpha that's willing to speak up and talk openly about their faith. So we're gonna pull jet fuel on that. We're gonna pour gas on that flame. And this summer, we will begin training hundreds of thousands of students. And by 2032, our goal is, can we train 300,000 students how to share their faith? Like, let's prepare them for what's coming. Let's be a part of ushering in this next great awakening. And I don't know if it happens this year or over the next 10 years, but I'm telling you, man, if history is any pattern, we know that every 50 to 60 years in our country, every 50 to 60 years, there's an awakening, and it's been 50 to 60 years. But I want to applaud Central in particular. Because one thing that I know about this church that I've learned, and across your campuses, you're doing this. You guys are on the front line to this. You're mobilizing your students from ministry so they're not just attenders, they're activated. They're not just consumers or contributors. In addition to that, do you know that this campus cleared the way by giving almost like $100 and some thousand so that more kids could go to camp? I mean, that is such a generous place that you guys are coming from adults, and I just want to applaud you guys for what you're doing. And at the same time, I want to spur you on to even more. Like, think about the opportunities in front of you. If you really started looking at some of the data, the qualitative and quantitative data coming out of this generation, why would you want to double down on that? Like, why would you want to go like, whoa, I've got a chance to be a part of ushering in the next great awakening in our country, and we know that Gen Z and Gen Alpha is going to bring it. Let's go. I'm all in on that. Whatever I've got to do to get students to Jesus, count me in. To get kids from camp, whether they're third graders or they're seniors in high school, man, let's all double down, because we know that moment when God gets a shot at a kid's heart, he can change everything. It reminds me a lot, knowing he can change everything from Mark chapter 2. The story with the paralytic, I'll read it. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. And they gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left. Man, I know that. We got 3,000 kids trying to get in right now. We can't get in. We're going to figure out how to get the central kids across the campuses in. I'll tell you that. Not even outside the door, he preached the word to them. Some men came, bringing to him a paralyzed man carried by 4 of them. So since they could not get to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus by digging through it, and they lowered the mat the paralyzed man was lying on. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." And I wonder what causes a church to say that we're going to give $100,000 so more kids can meet Jesus. What causes a church to say, you know what, we're going to dig through the roof, man, to make sure that any kid that wants to experience the movement of the Holy Spirit in their life, we're going to make sure that happens. And I'm going to encourage you right now, as adults in the room, man, I don't know if your parents like me. I got a freshman in my house. Like, I'm looking at my son saying, man, who you want to bring this year? I know he brought last year. Last year, he's like, Dad, I want to bring Bowden and Landon to camp with me. I was like, Bowden and Landon. All right, great. That's great, son. Next thing I know, Cy tells me, Dad, they can't come. I was like, oh, what's going on? Well, they can't get in, Dad. There's not enough room. What do you mean there's not room? He's like, well, the church told me that they can't go, that there's a waiting list. We can't get them in. It's like, where's the waiting list? Does the church have a waiting list? Are the buses full? What do you mean? Well, no, they said CIY. That's where I work. The CIY's got a waiting list. It's like, I know a guy, okay? I know a guy. So I walked into our service center, and I looked at him, and I said, hey, man, I need to get 2 kids into Michigan, Holland, Michigan. They're like, we got a waiting list. Like, yeah, I hear you. I want to get 2 people into Holland, Michigan. Brad looks at me, he's like, oh, man, Jayson, we got a waiting list. Like, hey, man, I don't play this card often, but I'm going to play right now. Boom. Like, we're getting them in. Brad's like, you're playing the cards. Like, absolutely, I'm playing it. These are my son's friends. Like, I'm going to get them in. He's like, what about all the others? Like, I feel bad for all the others, but I'm getting these 2 in. Like, that's just, I'm tearing the roof off is what I'm doing. Like, let me take away every barrier. I know these 2 boys, okay? One of them is a fellow outfielder with my son. The other one plays shortstop, sometimes third base. Like, I see these boys all the time. They play football together. Like, I know these boys. I said, we're getting Bowden, we're getting Landon in. Like, they're going, all right? Next thing I know, they call the church. Church is like, well, we didn't think there's room. I was like, yeah, I took care of that. They're in. They're going. Little did I know that I was sitting there in Holland, Michigan one night, and go to bed. Got all the students kind of calmed down. Everything's kind of settled on campus. And I go to lay down in my twin-size bunk bed, which I'm having an existential crisis at the moment, going, I'm 56 years old. Why am I sleeping on a bunk? A twin mattress. Like, at a college campus, like, what am I doing here, man? And then all of a sudden, I hear the code going off on our door. My wife's over here. She's sleeping on a twin mattress in a college dorm room. What have we done with our lives, baby? Like, I love what I'm doing. I'm just being ornery right now. But I'm looking at her, it's like, hey, you hear that? The code's going off right now. She's like, yeah. I kind of pop up. I throw a shirt on, and I hear Cy. He's downstairs. He's like, Dad, Mom? I'm like, wouldn't you know it? 90,000 kids across the nation, and mine's the one out after curfew. It's what's going on through my mind. Like, yep, some leader you are. You're going to get the one kid that's running around campus in the middle of the night, coming into your apartment. And my wife's like, Simmer, okay, just stop. I was like, all right. So she kind of leads away, goes down there. And Cy's standing there with Bowden, the kid he wanted to get in. He's standing there with Bowden. And Bowden looks up at us, and he goes, Miss Janice, would you baptize me tomorrow in Lake Michigan? Whew, hey, now, anytime you're meeting a kid that's been on the travel team with you, kid that you deeply love, and your wife is baptizing your freshman son's best friend, y'all, clear the roof now. Tear through it. Tear through it, parents. Who do you know in your kids' teams, your kids' lives, that you know they need this, and you know you've got the capacity to get them there? Who in this room has got the capacity to look across the different campuses to say, if there's any kid that wants to go, I don't care if they're 3rd grade or they're seniors, man, I'm telling you what, we're gonna rip the roof off here. We're gonna clear the roof. Because I know the Gen Alpha and Gen Z, you're willing to get them there. I'm gonna help you get them on the roof. And I'm gonna help you tear it apart. Because I wanna make sure that we do everything possible here at Central to get our kids before loving God, to get our kids in a place where they belong, to make sure that we reach the next generation. Because we're creating a generation that's not just gonna transform the valley, they're a part of something bigger that's gonna sweep across our nation. And we don't want to miss out on that. The ROI on that is too huge. The potential of that is too great. And someday they'll tell the story of, do you remember what happened in the 2020s? Do you remember the revival that broke loose? And you can say, yeah, we were a part of that. We didn't just sit back and watch it happen. We helped make it happen. And we helped bring an awakening to a generation. I love the story it's told. There was a couple of 14-year-old boys way back when that they were going to this tent revival. Heard this guy preaching named Mordecai Ham. I think Sean may have talked about him. And I don't know much about Mordecai. I guess a guy could preach the lights out enough that a couple of 14-year-old boys paused what they were doing and slowed down, walked over to this tent. There wasn't any room for them though, so they kind of stood on the outside, kind of looking in, listening to this guy preach. And all of a sudden, there's no room for them, so kind of elbow each other like 14-year-old boys do, like, hey, let's bounce. And they start leaving, walking away. And then this usher sees these two 14-year-old boys kind of trailing off. And he goes after them. He's like, hey, boys, did you guys want to listen? Like, I'll get you some seats now. I'll make room for you. Like, come on back, boys, come on back, fellas. And these two 14-year-old boys walk back. And he finds a seat for them. Finds a place for them to sit. One of the boys there, his name is Grady Wilson. Most of us probably never heard of him. 14-year-old Grady Wilson goes in there and he gives his life to the Lord. And Grady actually goes on to be quite like an evangelist himself in terms of like planning these evangelistic like moments and movements across America, across the world actually. Grady is like pretty influential. But his buddy that he elbows to come back with him, his buddy makes the same decision in the tent that night with Mordecai Ham. And that boy was Billy Graham. That boy was Billy Graham. I'm telling you, man, when you're willing as an usher to make room, when you're willing to say, let us rip the roof off for a generation, this is a time and space. Don't miss it. Don't let the numbers of the thousands at Ohio State and Auburn and Asbury, don't let the thousands that are showing up at the University of Arkansas and Georgia and Mississippi and Florida State. Let's talk about what happened right here in the Valley because of what Central got passionate about. Let's talk about what was given birth right here in Gilbert, right here across the campuses throughout Central. Because this place began to tear the roof off. This place said, we'll do whatever we got to do to make room for Jesus. If a kid wants to go to camp, no matter how old they are, we'll make that moment happen. We'll make the room. We'll usher in the space. I'm telling you what, church, Jesus is your firm foundation, no doubt. But you are in good hands with the next generation. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Don't you worry about the next generation. They've got this. Your role right now is you pour fire on that flame. You pour gas on that. Because they're a generation that's so much more bold than the rest of us in this room that let's get behind them. Let's mobilize them because they're going to turn this world upside down. Because church, it's been 50 years and now it's their time. Let's make sure we've got them. The foundation is Jesus, and you get a firm foundation in what he's bringing next. I'm gonna ask you to stand, let's worship, and let's give him praise for what he's raising up in this church. Across all campuses, beautiful things are coming.